I've spoken to next of kin of the souls we've lost. Those conversations are a heartbreaking reminder that these are not numbers. These are our neighbors. I've talked with business owners who've spent their entire lives building an enterprise that they are now terrified of losing. I've heard from countless residents who have lost their jobs and who have waited far too long to receive the state unemployment benefits they deserve, and from families who fear losing the place they call home, and from many who may not know where their next meal will come from. So yes, as this pandemic has progressed, I have grown weary. It's clear that we have all grown weary. We want to be with our friends and family. We want to give our children a sense of normalcy. We want to go back to the way things used to be. But this virus has not grown weary, and it thrives when we are weary. It thrives when we let our guard down. Other parts of the country have let their guard down, and they are now facing what's being described as a catastrophic lack of hospital beds. The truth is, we will never return to normal if we don't keep putting in the hard work necessary to slow the spread of this virus. If we ignore the warning signs in front of us today, it will take even longer and be even more painful to get back to normal. It's critical that we keep acting for the good of each other. This morning, I was reading the 6th chapter of Galatians, which reminded me that we must not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone. That's a good reminder for us all. We have an opportunity to do good for everyone. On Monday morning, I announced that we would continue to closely monitor the data, and while we believe statewide solutions remain preferred as the most effective, we would not hesitate to act locally where necessary. Today we're doing just that. In addition to supporting the decisions made by Governor Hogan earlier this week, we are also announcing the following steps in Baltimore County in response to the recent surge in cases. So, effective 5 p.m. Sunday, all gatherings, not otherwise subject to specific state guidance, will be limited to 10 people indoors and 25 people outdoors. Bars and restaurants will be required to close at midnight in Baltimore County. And I am here to remind everyone that pursuant to state and local orders, masks remain required indoors and outdoors for all adults and children aged 5 and over when social distancing is not possible. On indoor masking, they remain in place with very, very few exceptions. Our social distancing task force, which has already conducted over 5,200 proactive and complaint-driven inspections, will be further ramping up their enforcement efforts. This is not to make life difficult for any resident or business. It is to save lives and to keep our businesses open. The new gathering orders apply to social gatherings like parties, concerts, weddings, fundraisers, and other similar events. They do not apply to restaurants, businesses, private schools, childcare, and other establishments where existing specific state orders are already in place. Orders that, like the mask order, will be more strictly enforced in the days and weeks ahead. Also, beginning this Tuesday, November 17th, all recreational youth sports will be prohibited in Baltimore County until further notice. We are doing all of this because the science is very clear. Masks and social distancing works. I'm asking all of our residents to redouble their efforts. Please keep doing the things that we know will keep our communities healthy and save lives. I said it earlier this week when we announced our new support for our schools and our county restaurants, and I will say it again. We will continue looking for ways to support our businesses and our families as the pandemic stretches on. That's best done in partnership. So, in the strongest possible terms, I call on and urge Congress to pass new support for state and local governments, as well as for businesses that have lost revenue and the individuals of our county, our state, and this country who have lost their jobs. This will be critically important to navigate the pandemic and fuel a much-needed economic recovery. At a time of national crisis, we need our national leaders to put aside their differences and lead for all Americans. I want to thank every Baltimore County resident for their efforts so far to keep themselves healthy and safe, along with their families and our communities. And I ask them to please stay vigilant. We can't give up now. We have to continue the hard work necessary to get through this incredibly challenging time together. I have faith that we can do that if we do it together. I'm joined by our health officer, Dr. Gregory Branch, this morning as well. Both he and I are now happy to answer any questions you might have.
Did you consider a further capacity limitation to 25%, and why did you do that at this point?
Yeah, so at this point what we're seeing is the gatherings is driving a lot of the spread in our communities, and so coupling the furthering restriction of gatherings down to 10, particularly indoors, along with the governor's decision to go to 50% this week, coupled again with our decision to close bars and restaurants at midnight, we think really speaks to what the data is telling us about gathering and congregating, and those are the places where we're really seeing the spread happening.
When you say mask order will be strictly enforced, what does that mean? And as far as youth sports go, is that public or private fields or both?
All youth sports effective Tuesday will be prohibited in Baltimore County as it relates to the masking order. So on the social distancing task force, for example, we've really tried to lead with education, but we've done enforcement to date, including an up to closure of businesses that are not able to comply with the orders of the state and local government. And we will be redoubling those efforts to ensure that that's happening. We will be redoubling to ensure that the local restrictions of 10 and 25 outdoors are being upheld, and we will enforce it to the fullest extent of the law, as allowed by the state orders and local orders.
County Executive, to follow up on Phil's question, another question: is there all of us go outside and see people on a sidewalk? Maybe 2 are wearing a mask, maybe another 2 aren't.
Yeah.
Can you give out tickets? Can we give out like any sort of fine, like a real way to enforce it? And can you, maybe Dr. Branch, I know Montgomery County this week revealed that they are seeing a real troubling increase in young people being hospitalized. That rate is something that really caused them pause. Can you speak to if you've seen that kind of trend as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would reiterate again, to the fullest extent of the law, we will enforce the mask orderings both within businesses and within the public. Just to reiterate, masks are currently required indoors with very, very few exceptions at all times in public spaces. Additionally, the order from the state, which we are reiterating today, is that if you cannot socially distance or if you are a part of a public gathering, you must also wear a mask. So we will be enforcing that across the board. I will turn to Dr. Branch on the other question I gave.
Good morning. As it relates to our young folks, since going back to school, we've definitely seen an increase in our youngsters getting COVID-19. We have not seen an increase in Baltimore County of a significant increase in the hospitalizations of our young folks, but we have had a death of a young person because of COVID-19. So at this particular time, we're being very vigilant and watching that, and we're asking anyone, if you're a resident or if you live, work, and play in Baltimore County, to please be vigilant and wear your masks. Yes, we had another young person who had passed away from COVID-19. Yes.
Can you give us any sort of age range, pre-existing condition? Was it a child?
Pre-existing condition of a teen.
And I asked this of the governor's office yesterday. I know that you have modeling that shows if we do nothing, this is how many people will die. If we do this, we would save as many lives. If people follow these guidelines, how many lives do you think you could save? What does the modeling show? How many lives?
I could not tell you a specific number, but I can say that by wearing your mask, washing your hands, and watching your distance, we are clearly going to decrease the transmission of COVID-19 significantly. And that's what's so very, very important.
I have one clarification that I want to ask about.
Sure.
If restaurants are only for people who are eating and not standing around drinking.
That's right.
How many people really go to eat after midnight? I'm wondering what that midnight line signifies. Or does that just expose people who are drinking and doing things they shouldn't do?
I think the line reiterates the common sense practices that should already be in place, which is why when engaging with some of our chambers and restaurant associations and individual restaurants and bars, they recognize that pursuant to local orders, after midnight, it really becomes hard to argue that the activities that are happening really should be happening. So, it's a good reminder that in addition to mask requirements, people are not supposed to be standing at bars. They're supposed to be seated 6 feet apart from each other. So it goes back to Dr. Branch's point of if we follow the guidelines and the requirements, we will crush this curve again. Back in the early summer when we started seeing concerning trends, Baltimore County, a few weeks before the state, issued our mask order. The state followed 2 weeks later. We crushed the curve. We saw the reduction because people did the right things, but now we're being pushed inside. It's particularly important that we double down, do the right thing, keep our neighbors safe, keep our businesses open. When we are at a crisis point, we don't want to have to make additional restrictions. We want to keep people safe, though. We want to keep people in their jobs and employed. So we hope that people take this seriously. They follow these actions so that we don't have to take additional actions in the days and weeks ahead.
Mayor, in November and December to businesses of all types, but small businesses in particular, so critical for their bottom line.
Yep.
A couple of weeks away from Small Business Saturday. What's your message to these small businesses as they're hearing more restrictions?
Keep working with us. Keep doing the right thing. And if we're encouraging both the businesses and residents alike, if they keep doing the right thing, we will get through this. We're going to keep finding ways to support you. We've pushed out millions of dollars in federal, local, and state supports. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep finding ways to support our small businesses. Just last week, we announced an additional $7 million for our bars and restaurants here in Baltimore County that will help them get through this. We are all struggling through this together. We're going to keep open the lines of communication. We're going to try to keep partnering. But we're here to partner. We'll get through this together. Yeah.
Restrictions sound very similar to the ones you put in place in Anne Arundel County.
Yep.
Coordinate with Mr. Pivot?
Yes, so we have weekly calls with all local leaders, and we've been having that throughout this pandemic. We haven't stopped. Anne Arundel, Hartford, Howard, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Frederick County. All the county executives and the mayor are on those calls weekly, and we try to coordinate because we believe that in the absence of state action, regional action is preferred, although we certainly understand that some of our local leaders have to go and take additional actions as well. So we actually we work together well, we communicate often, and I think the fact that you're seeing a similar approach on the closure times, you're seeing a similar approach with the restrictions being further, particularly indoors, which is of grave concern to all of us. I think speaks to the need that while I support what the governor did last week, that we all believe locally that we needed to do a little bit more.
I wanted to follow up. The governor replied to the letter asking to resume weekly meetings with all of you and about the $11.5 million in CARES funding for PPE for schools.
Yep.
Has the county connected with principals yet in regards to what they need, what PPE they need?
We have. So principals on Tuesday had the order sheet, which included PPE, air purifiers, disinfectant, hand sanitizer. I've already heard from several principals as well as the head of the principals organization, the CASE, and they are so thankful for the support because we know the numbers currently are way outside of what the state recommends and what the county's own plans for in-person reopening is, but we want to make sure that we are absolutely ready for the return of our students and educators when the time is right, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that.
How do you touch on increased enforcement? I'm wondering what that might look like. Would we expect to see more establishments closed as a result of violating COVID?
I mean, we're hopeful that after today, we're going to communicate through our existing channels with our license holders. We're going to let them know that we are ramping up enforcement. We have great partnerships with our chambers, with the Licensed Beverage Association. They want to be partners in this. They want to make sure that all of the restaurants can stay open. And actually, we've been encouraged that, for those that aren't following the rules, that enforcement action is taken. And I applaud them for being partners in that. Our goal is to not have to take enforcement action, but our message is we will if we have to.
Aside from the restaurants and the youth sports, looking ahead, what other restrictions are you looking at this point, in addition to that? Can you give us a specific something specific?
So there's, at this point, these are the restrictions that are in place. We're going to continue to monitor the data. We're going to continue to see if and when the state decides to take any additional actions. We're going to keep having those weekly conversations with local leaders. And so we all talk about where we are and where we may need to go. Having that additional heads up from the state would be particularly helpful as we think about future decisions as well.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.